great show. It's Shirley and Jessica. Yeah!
Hello, everybody, and happy Tuesday to you. It must be Tuesday because it's another episode of My Way, conversations with entrepreneurs doing business outside the box. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, the creator of the Breakthrough Show Network, and of course, your host for My Way here this evening. I can't help it that every time we start this show, I hear Frank Sinatra in my head. It's just a given. It is a given what happens here. So I love that. I have to give a quick shout out this evening before we start the show because I know that a lot of you guys that watch, you catch my morning show. My morning show, it's that high vibe place that we come to get those good vibes on Project Joy Live. And I have been sharing with you a little bit about our journey. We just sold our home. We close on it in literally 2 weeks from yesterday, and moving back to my hometown in Connecticut. And I shared with you this morning about the challenges of finding a place and in this market and everything right now. Literally 20 minutes before we came on today, we got a place. And so I have to thank everybody for manifesting with me and praying with me and all of that stuff. So I'm super, super excited. So I couldn't wait till Project Joy tomorrow to tell you guys, but I'm so thankful. So thankful for you guys. Thank you so much. I am pumped today. As we know, we have been hearing some incredible stories on this My Way series, and our guest today is no different. He is an entrepreneur. He's done many different things in his life, but he also experienced renal cancer, and it inspired him to create the platform that he has and do the things his way, which I'm sure we'll learn about in his business and stuff as well coming up. And I told him, I said, typically I make coffee and cookies for the green room behind the scenes, but I made cannolis and lasagna for him. So without further ado, let's welcome Vince Cortese to the show. Hello, Vince. It is good to see you.
This is tremendous. I am on the backside of a waterfall of music that, yes. Probably one of my biggest qualities is I'm easily excited. Mm-hmm. And you're playing this music that got me jumping through the roof. So it's like this was as equal to having a caffeine or the double espresso this morning.
See, you're telling my secrets now because that's how I get myself pumped up is with music for sure. And so when I was picking the intro music to my shows, I said, okay, I can't, some of these other things. I mean, God bless you and everybody else that does their music, but I have to have something exciting and I want to feel like I'm in a club.
I mean, I'm ready to jump out of the chair. I got to sit here and do an interview now. You just messed me all up. No, I just between you and me, I Shazammed the song. It's like I'm not asking her for it. I'm just gonna take it.
I love it.
I love listening to that after we're done.
I'm telling you, it's so good. It's so good. Well, listen, Vince, I'm so glad you're here tonight. Do you prefer to be called Vince, or do you like Vinny, or how are we doing this evening?
I'm okay with either one. I'm kind of the perpetuator of those. I got a lot of nicknames, and I kind of embraced them all.
Yeah.
So, some people prefer to call me Vinny. Some prefer to call me Vince. Mm-hmm. Growing up, my nickname was Chip. So that was really interesting,
Yeah.
But that's I got a bunch of different nicknames. You'll hear people on my podcast will refer to me with different names too.
Do you find yourself like do you find yourself ever being particular about it? So my name's Jessica, which is obviously very common. Well, at least it was growing up. I graduated with something like 14 Jessicas. It was insanity. But I find myself like people growing up would call me Jess, Jessie, Jessica, Jay, whatever they want. And now I'm like, my name is Jessica. Thank you very much. I'm a little bit particular. I'm a little bit of a brat now, Vince. It's what it is.
More particular.
Yes, I am. I am. Do you find yourself being that way at all, or you just don't? You just
I don't know. I mean, I think like after what I went through, my feeling is just that genuine enjoyment of everybody. I mean, the acceptance of stuff that you can't change becomes a real thing, you know, because of what you've gone through. So your idea of what you'll appreciate is a lot different.
Yeah.
It's so or more meaningful, or you're probably just not spending any time on it. Not really any conscious choice. You're just not. It doesn't hold you.
Right. Right. I think it could go either way. Like either we go, okay, I just, you know, I don't care, or we go, I'm living my best life now. So you're going to call me what I tell you to call me kind of thing. Listen, Juju's out there this evening. Good afternoon. I almost said good morning. I'm so used to seeing you in the morning. Good evening, Juju. It's good to see you. Thank you for the congratulations. And I'm glad you're here this evening. Don't forget, you guys, you can leave comments throughout the episode and we're happy to pass any questions over to Vince as we go through his story and all of that. And we want to hear from you about how you're doing things your way as well. So I mentioned you've had one hell of a story, Vince, and have been through a lot in your life. How would you say, we're going to get into a little bit of that story, but how would you say that your journey in general or your story in general has impacted you as an entrepreneur?
I think there was kind of twofold. Growing up, I was the third of four kids. My dad was a teacher and a coach, and his influence really was when if we weren't going to play sports, he wanted us to work. So I was 13. Just a quick backstory. He's telling me if I'm not playing baseball this summer, you're going to go get a job, and we're going to the country club, which was just 2 miles away. I'm like, okay, so what a great way to start off summer. I'm 13. I'm going to go play around a golf at the country club, right? I'm like, this is going to be a good summer. Maybe I shouldn't have played baseball a long time ago. Long story short, we go over there, and I'm thinking on the way over, we're not members of this country club. So why would we be golfing here? So not much conversation. He drops me off, says, go up there, get a tee time with the caddy master. I'm going to park the car and get the clubs. I'm like, okay. So I get out of the car and go up there, and I get a tee time, and I turn around, and my dad's gone. He's not coming back with clubs. He left. So I'm sitting there. Now, this is before cell phones. I'm trying to figure out what happened. And they call my name to go to the first tee. So I go up to go to the first tee, and I'm thinking, those aren't my bags. That's not my shoes. I don't see my dad. And the guy goes, you're carrying 2 bags, son. You got this one here and this one here. He dropped me off to go caddy at the local country club. I thought I was going to play golf. So it's like sort of one of those moments like you trust your dad, so you're not figuring he's going to put you in that situation. But on the same token, he made his point of you need to go out and get a job. And he took me to where I'd have my first job. So long story short, I carried 4 hours. I got doubles. I made $20 a bag. So I made $40 4 hours later, and I'm 13 years old. So the experience was so emphatic that it was kind of like, as I would get older and getting out of high school and college, I didn't want to work for somebody else because I had experienced if I'm willing to work hard enough, you know, or have enough self-discipline, I could make things on my own. So it's like, I never really thought about that experience a whole lot till I got older. And I was like, I always had the problem with the corporate because I was a marketing major. So you're in management or HR or marketing in those corporate positions, and they were just too much backbiting for me. I didn't like that. I felt caged in, and I felt like I had more to give than just the job requirement I had in dealing with the people. So
Right.
I was willing to be entrepreneurial. That part of being solo didn't scare me. I'm referencing that experience because I think that's why.
Wow. Wow. I know I had not heard that story before. And we have to have a moment of appreciation for what you mentioned, that, any kids that are listening here, we didn't have cell phones. So imagine your parents dropping you off and being like, bye, and then you're stuck.
Yeah, no, it was like Tony Robbins always tells the story about the guy burning the ships behind him when they go to take the island. And it was, it was like so much happened in that moment that the guy told me what reality was: go pick up those golf clubs. And where I was at in my mind with I realized what my dad had just done.
Right.
And it was like, I think I was through the first 3 holes before I realized I was actually caddying. And like I was doing that. Like I was said, like, because I'm 13, I was trying to check it down. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. No. But I mean, the conversation I had in my head, just the whole experience, it stuck.
Wow. Wow. Talk about an influential moment. I don't have any I don't have any stories like that, but I do. I suppose in a way I would go, visit my dad in the summertime down in Charleston, South Carolina. And I was used to, in Connecticut with my grandmother, taking swimming lessons, like in a pool. She'd be holding me and we would be like, this very gentle sort of swimming. And I would get down to my dad's and he would be like, time to go swimming, right in the water. like no sharks in the water and everything, Vince. It's lucky I'm here today. But
that's terrifying.
It is. But those are the things I think I can see how that moment really stuck with you, because sometimes when we're pushed into the fire, of course, we're going to remember that.
Yeah. Swim or die.
Yeah. That's it. Well, I know, like, moving forward, you mentioned working corporate and things like that later on. Like, at what point did you decide to make the shift back to being an entrepreneur?
I went in with a gentleman named David Mullen, and he had a line of apparel called Joe America. And he was operating out of Pittsburgh at the time. And I was like, you know what? I want to go and find out about the apparel industry. I'll go work with this guy. So we started up. It was just 3 of us. And we had great success in Vegas and in Dallas and Miami, Chicago, and then New York. And he did so well with the line that he ultimately sold to American Eagle, the brand, and ended up being an employee there. He didn't like too much. He liked the free-spirited entrepreneurial thing. Yeah. But his success was so great that it influenced me to then, after 2.5 years, encouraged to go and do it on my own.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And I'm sure, like, do you feel like you were, I know you talked about the story and kind of having that impromptu entrepreneurial moment, but do you feel like you were ready for what the entrepreneurial world had to offer? Like, because I know sometimes we have these pictures in our head of how we think entrepreneur life is going to be, and then we get into it and we're like, oh, it's great, but it's not what I thought at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I wasn't prepared at all. I don't think it really hit me the level of focus that's really required to succeed until it's after the cancer, really. I mean, when it was in the brick and mortar doing the apparel out in California, we had a contract with the federal government. So there was pretty much, you were going to be guaranteed sales. The issue was just how much and your capability of order fulfillment. So it was one of those where it kind of hit autopilot on a certain period. I mean, the contract, they would renew you every year. So the pressure to make your numbers were there. But um, it was not a lot of a margin there because they didn't want to charge the military personnel a lot of money. So, and what was left over was it was difficult to make a lot of profit. Being a marginal price product, you need to sell a lot. But after 7 years, that absolved and is like the market didn't take it anymore. And just things began to kind of chisel away and fall apart. I guess that would have been around 2007. And by 2008, the business was gone. It was gone. I didn't have the business, and life had begun to crumble on the personal level as well. So it was like going through that experience. I think sometimes when you're entrepreneurial, you think you don't have a safety net, and it's like you're going to fall and crash. And there was no way out of that one. It was pay to play. The apparel business isn't very kind on the positioning that I took, where I was trying to develop a brand on my own dime. That was a partnership thing, or you wanted capital money up front to even attempt something like that. So I was completely unready. But the thing that you learn is even when you don't succeed, you still won, because that experience goes with you to the next set of decisions you're going to make, to what you're going to do next and how you're going to approach it. So I I always took it as I was in a win-win. I was going to win because the business was going to work, but I was also going to win because I was furthering my education and knowing and my know-how. So I just try to keep myself. I don't know that I would say when I started out of college, I was prepared for that corporate, and create that resume and work that retirement with the 401ks rolling. And I got out and just being kind of wanted to be untethered. I didn't really go that route, so it was more high risk when I look at it that way, but I was doing what moved me, so it's like, do what you love and the money will follow. And it's like, that's kind of like build it and they will come. You still, it sounds good for the movies. Let's just put it that way.
Any Field of Dreams reference is fantastic. I love that you said though, that even like coming out of college, you weren't ready for that either, because here's the thing. I think that we may not become an entrepreneur or whatever, take the next step in our life, whatever that looks like, because of fear. Because are we really truly ready for anything? It doesn't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, fast forwarding, that when you got cancer, that wasn't something that you were prepared for either.
Oh yeah, total. The idea that everything in life was going to change and change like right now, because my situation, I was experiencing night sweats and weight loss for about 10 months prior to the situation that I would find out I had cancer. So that being the case, I was wearing down and experiencing fatigue, and I never knew what fatigue was before. It was a whole nother level of tired. So as I declined to that point, so much happened, because I was trying to develop a life moving forward from what had just collapsed. The business, the marriage, the house, everything was gone. And the level of stress of which I was standing in, it was kind of like, you still got a little lower to go. And not in the moment I'm thinking that, but as I look back, it was like, well, the cancer would take me as low as I would go. So it was like all of what I thought I was doing just was done. It's like your life is about trying to survive. You have an extremely serious situation here. If you don't do something in a 30-day window, you're probably not going to be around. So it's like, okay, all right, if I survive, what kind of a life am I going to have on the other side? And it's like, you can't even worry about that. You got to worry about staying alive. So it was kind of as hard as you could jam the brakes on whatever you're doing. Stop now. You're doing this.
Yeah. It's so interesting because in the health challenges that I have experienced in the last few years, um, I have shared several times that doing these shows has saved my life more often than not. It was it was that what was just something to do became an intense passion and focus and that will, that fire underneath me that got me out of bed. And don't get me wrong, I love my husband, I love my children, they're absolutely something to do, I have a life outside of my business, but I was became so passionate in what I was doing. Did you experience that at all with anything? Were you able to like tap?
Mm.
What do you think it was that pushed you out of it?
I think it was the issue if you're going to get another chance. That didn't reveal itself right away because after my operation, and I'll give you a quick idea of how bad I was. So when I collapsed on a street in that 10-month window, I was given a regional or what they call a local scan. So it only covered my torso. And so what happened was they saw a 12-pound tumor over my left kidney, and they're like, we're not allowed to discharge you from the hospital because you're ill, but you could discharge yourself and go to another hospital. And it's like, you need to go where someone who can care for you because we're not mechanically equipped in this hospital to properly facilitate your need. So we leave. So I go to UCLA Wilshire. We go over then to there for a week, and they get a team of doctors together, which is 8 doctors, 4 oncologists, 4 cardiologists. I'm going to have open heart surgery besides my left kidney removed. And they're going to do what's called a cut and suck procedure on a tumor that clotted over my left kidney, 12 pounds heavy, and goes up my vena cava, and I've got 80% blockage in my heart. So like their diagnosis was your blood, either lungs are going to fill with blood or that tumor is going to go large enough to suffocate your heart. You're going to have a stroke and die. So
Gee.
yeah, so like this is like, you're going to die in 30 days. This is what I was being told. And honestly, it didn't register to me. I wasn't the kind of person that would get cancer. So I really like shut that down, but I knew I was really sick and I knew the reality of the situation when he told me. So the whole idea is I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to die, I don't want people to think badly of me. I don't want to be like whining and bitching or like, this is,
Right.
oh man, look at the cards I was dealt. So I went instinctively or like into humor.
Yeah.
So when the doctors came in, and I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. I'm like, I'm laughing, and they're like looking at me like your jokes aren't funny, And I totally got that. I totally got that part. And so what happens then is, so they actually discharged me or asked me to discharge myself when they finished getting this thing ready. So like my operation with them telling me I got 30 days, I'm set for a date. I believe it was the 11th of November, and it gets pushed back till the 21st, 10 days. So now I'm like really worried. You're telling me to leave the hospital.
Yeah.
I could suffocate and die or whatever while I'm gone. And I'm waiting, till you call me and say, we got an operation and the team of people together for you. So that last 10 days before I actually went and got operated on was just, just hold on, just hold on. And it was like it had basically taken all of my strength at that point. I had a window of maybe 15 minutes of energy. Like I could make
Right.
my way into the bathroom or I could get something to eat or whatever. And that was about all I had. And then I'd make it back to the bed. So it was like, it truly was going to take me. And
Right.
I was Not any remorse or a lot of like what they tell you, what do you feel like when you're going to die? You didn't think you get to live long enough because you're being given all like those sort of classic scenarios.
Right.
And I didn't have any remorse because I really felt like I had given all of myself at that point. So what I did feel was a horrible amount of despair. I was like, I'm like, God, please don't do this. It's like, I'm 51 years old. I got a lot of life to go. It's like, if I'm going to go, then, I'll accept that. It's your will. It's not mine why I'm here. And, so he spares me. I mean, the idea of you have 8 sets of hands inside of you in a 12-hour window, 3 anesthesiologists, and I'm living here to tell you, like, on the 8th of November this year, I will be 8 years old because my heart was out of my chest for an hour and 25. I claimed it as a rebirth. So I'm dual born. I kind of like that one. It's good.
I love it.
Youngstown, Ohio, a little rough place. And then out in LA, probably a little rougher place.
Well, you look good for 8, Vince.
So, but I mean, that the amount of what went on there. So I survived this thing to at this point, I still trying to wrap my mind around all of what happened.
Right.
And this is like, if you're referencing a miracle, like this was like, I got a truckload, I got a giant shipment of miracles. There you go. Cause I mean, it was just one thing after another. And I was so far on the end of the line that if it didn't go the right way, you were done on any one of these. It was hard to just believe that you went through that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, look, we've heard stories before of people going, okay, well, you have cancer. I dealt with that with my brother. They said, you have cancer. My brother didn't make it. Less than a year later, he died. And I remember him being very similar to you when he got the news. He's like, well, I'm going on vacation and like, I'm going to go have some fun. And he was like that right up until the end. He was always making jokes and everything. And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit as humans for how in the face of something like that, we can kick into gear in some kind of way, whatever that survival looks like, whether it's humor or like I shared about finding, just focus, that passion. We all find that thing. And I think you're a superhero, Vince. I think anybody that we go through makes us a superhero because we did it.
I appreciate that. That feels good. But, I can't take the credit. I think what you go so spiritual, like you're having a talk, like I'm with you with spirit, and it becomes very peaceful and very relaxing, and you really find out who you are. Like not necessarily the human, the spiritual creature that God is living inside of you. Like your connection to that becomes so strong that it was like, that was the healing power inside of me. I really believe that it was like God's work in me. Like, God giveth and God taketh away. We read in the Bible, he breathed life into you. We came from dust we came, to dust we will return. So it's like, your spirit is the whole thing that makes you tick,
right?
And makes you. And so I tapped into that, and there was a sense of peace, and there was a sense of, I don't need to address this again. Like this is handled. I made the right decision on who I asked to address this. And I think the beginning of the healing process really happened. And I don't recall that as a specific moment, because I was just constantly talking to God and talking to that voice in my head. And it just, at that point in my life with what they were telling me, it was constant. I never came out of it.
Right. Was there any point during the diagnosis and then the treatment and whatnot afterwards, the surgeries, everything else, that you knew like, okay, I've got to take a break. I've got to focus on the healing. And then if so, at what point did you kind of start getting back to like real life afterwards?
With my resources depleted, it was kind of interesting because I had so much of the anesthesia in me. It would be a while before my system would permit the release from the hospital. My body had to function correctly, and they had to see I could walk. So the reality was I was going to a hospice, which was just a whole nother. And I was able to be, I think it was 3 weeks. So in a 3-week window at this hospice, I'd go down, and the building was set up as such that it was a circle. So I could get out of my room and walk. And I knew that once that 3 weeks was up, I was basically out on my own. I didn't have an apartment or anything. So it's like I either needed to make my way back to Pittsburgh, or I needed to figure out some place to stay for a while until I'd find my own place to live. And I was in no condition to really find work at that point. So when I was in that hospice, the reality of I need to really buck up here was very obvious, because they were doing the physical therapy. And I'm like, most people come in here and they stay anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. I'm only here for 3.
Right.
So my mindset was, if they would let me do physical therapy twice a day, I would do it. And initially it was very hard. I mean, I couldn't wash, I couldn't shave, I couldn't brush my teeth, I couldn't feed myself, I could barely sit up. I had 102 staples across my belly. I mean, I got cut from my sternum by my base of my throat down my sternum, and then like a potato. I got a big Mercedes-Benz scar. And
that's something to brag about.
I'm trying to make it, the best of it. But
yeah.
So I was the reality of having been physical in my whole life, playing sports and so forth, and feeling my body, and now feeling what my body felt like after. It's that part I don't know that I could have been prepared for that.
Right.
I have to put my heart out of my chest 7 of the 12 hours, from the waist down, I was on ice. So I go in and I'm trying to figure out, because I have real bad case of neuropathy and nerve damage in my leg, but my feet are terrible. It's like I have a difficulty walking. But anyhow, I go and I'm like, what's the Guinness Book of World Records for being on ice? So I'm looking in here and I'm thinking, from 7 hours from the waist down, I'm like, does that qualify for anything?
Do I get a prize?
Yeah. So the thing is that Wim Hof guy comes up. That was my introduction to Wim Hof. But anyhow, he was in a block of ice thrown in his neck, and he's like, looks like he's sitting in a chair. They probably carved it out for him for just under 2 hours, like an hour and 58 minutes. It's like a minute and a half shy of 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, I was 3.5 times that. So it's like, I kind of put in perspective why my feet still feel the way that they do. Because it's like anybody who has neuropathy, I can completely relate with you. Some days it's good. Some days it's absolutely horrible. Some days I walk with great balance. Some days forget about it. So it's like that would be something I would be interested in being involved in moving forward with, those types of healings with nerve damage and things like that. But so I'm moving out and about, and that 3-week window was when that reality hit me the strongest, that it's like, I'm going to have to do my best. Now, to kind of extend on that, I made my health my priority. So it's like, I have an opportunity here to go back and heal. I'll have the resources to be in front of a computer. I'm going to be in a bed for a little bit, but it's like, while I'm in the bed, I want to be a visionary and let these entrepreneurial skills, because it's like, I got to get my life back in order here, because I'm starting from bare bottom. And so that voice of praying all the time, asking Spirit to guide me. And it was like, I'm doing mobile apps and doing marketing and helping people. And it's like, I should just do this for myself and create my own business. Well, a friend of mine in the cardiologist, she mentioned to me, she goes, I think you should do a podcast. We had done some app work, and she was repping the app business for me. And I'm like, okay, so I'll try that, So the app business began to develop a bit, but the podcasting completely took off. So it's like now here I am with my health the first thing in the morning. So I create this routine where I walk a mile and a half a day. I journal, I pray, I meditate, I do Qigong and Tai Chi, all of these things to center my body and to just kind of bring it back to life. And, just it's like what I'm capable of doing on a physical level, I'm doing it. So it's like 7 years later, I'm in great shape. I'm maybe in the best shape I've been in my life in a long time. And, some of those elements from the operation are still there, but it's like to think back that I couldn't shave or walk or do any of that. And that would be, I would visit that twice, because when I came back to Pittsburgh, I still had cancer in my lungs. So like round 2 was going to go on after overcoming this miraculous 12-hour operation. So it's like, when I realized how much God's hand is in on my life, it's like I went from being out of fear, but in a complete level of confidence. Like it's all like my life is already written. It's done. So it's like for me, like just go live your life. If you're curious, be curious about what's waiting for you that you're seeking. So like this inner conversation with spirit and myself is like I'm acting like the prayer that I had the night before was already fulfilled. So it's sort of like a little kid at either a birthday or a Christmas morning going to open a gift. So my expectation isn't like something I wrote in my journal is going to happen. My expectation is I want to go see what my surprise is that my creator's directing me towards. So it's like now, like life is so much more full. I'm being drawn to stuff. And it's like I almost like I opened some door and walked through. And whether it was the experience of the cancer that did that, or the cancer enabled me to get closer to my God and my spirit that I was talking to my whole life, but not in alignment with. And it's like I feel like I have perfect alignment now. Like the idea of flow and being in order with who I am and what I'm here for and what I'm supposed to be doing is completely, I'm connected with that. Like it feels right. It feels comfortable. It feels good. It's like the idea of being myself to make my living couldn't give me more peace. It's like, how hard is it to wake up and be yourself? It's like, and what a gift is that? You live in America and the AI intelligence world, and you get to create like never before. Like we all are so blessed to have this incredible canvas called the internet and an entrepreneurial, that creativity that spawns in us. It's like we're in full bloom right now. We are in full bloom, and we're just beginning to realize what's ahead of us. It's an awesome era to be alive right now.
Yeah, it truly is. And even, I'm not going to get into certain topics on the show here tonight, but over the last couple of years, there have been so many things that have gone on around the world, not just here in America. And it breaks my heart to see us jump to a place of anger and hatred and division and all of these things. And I'm a very empathetic person, and it is extremely difficult for me in those moments to just even try to fathom how people could just hate each other so much over we're all over the fact that we're not the same. And then they want diversity at the same time. So it's like, which one do you want? Do you want it to be the same, or do you want it to be diverse? Which one do you want? But
I
it's
think
very
the information overload has made people paranoid instead of more comfortable.
right.
It's like the idea of and don't misunderstand that information is different than experience. Because experience is knowing, information is being told.
Right.
And it's like that's the separation. Like I think that's the beauty of life. You have to live it. You have to experience it. You can talk about it. you can create goals inside of it, you can do all these things, but none of it flourishes to mean anything until you've experienced it.
Right. Right. It's such a good point. I need us to remember that, people. You hear what Vince is saying? Listen, I love how you said too, I'm gonna go back. I made a little note when you talked about your morning routine. I love that. Because I'm a big proponent for morning routines and whatever it looks like for you. But you use the words to bring your body back to life in the morning. And I love that. Never really thought about it, because it's a gift when we get up in the morning. We've been given a new gift. We've been given a new day. And so to bring yourself, I love it. You just gave me I'm going to put that on a pillow or something.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was like that. I had also with my body going through that. It was so traumatic that the energy in my body completely changed. And like, because we're vibrational creatures, like I reference it as, and I don't know if it's how heavy a charge it was like electricity. So what my voltage was so low after the cancer and trying to get back, that I realized what the combination of my thinking and talking about it, and then getting up and doing the walking, and the combination of the two. But it's like being is such the fine edge of not being able to walk or not to have balance. Right. I mean, because I walked for a cane for a little while I was in there too. And the kind of idea of understanding what chi is, and our energies and our chakras. So like, I was getting way into my body, and it's like, where are the pain points? Where does the healing come from? So it was like, when I understood how Tai Chi, and you could control your energy and control your chi, which is like your soul source. It's like you're connecting with your spirit, but you're using your body to kind of tune that up. And so when I started doing Tai Chi and realizing it would be, I would say it's powerful for me as like a lot of people, because I keep referencing Wim Hof, because I do his things. I like his stuff, but I do others as well. And so when you would take that cold shower, and that disconnecting of your body and your mind and your body, like your body wants to just jump out of that shower immediately.
It sure does.
When you realize that your conscious mind is the master in the house, then it's like all of a sudden you realize how strong you are to stay in that water. And now your body, no matter what it's going through, doesn't mean nothing to you.
Right.
And when you experience that kind of power, that's nothing you can return to. Like it's like you feel like you have a superpower, and your level of confidence begins to rise. So I'm using that as an example, because when I experienced doing the chi and controlling my energy around my chakras and up and down my body, I was recharging myself, and I didn't know that that's what I was doing. So I was like, I need to do this every day, because it's like the whole idea, I think we're only 7% different from animals, the conscious mind. So biologically, we're animals. So it's like every day you get out and walk the dog. So it's like, now I'm playing that prisoner in this body again, this conscious person.
Right.
It's like, I'm trapped in this body that doesn't work so good. I need to get this body back into shape. So it was like, when you're studying methods that are peaceful healing, or like, you have a God that's so powerful that you don't recognize his power until you experienced the gentleness. And it's like, how could the master of the universe create all this stuff and then come down to something as like a gentle breeze on soft grass, and you just watch the grass just flicker back and forth? But it's like, there's immense power in that gentleness. And that's how that's what's in you. Your Holy Spirit that you created this universe made that gentleness and that power right there. But that's flowing through you. You're a part of that.
Right.
So it's like, as you begin to connect with your environment, like you referenced, it's like the idea of hate is really not a good thing.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King's, one of his better lines, I thought, or quotes, was, you can't beat hate with hate. You can only beat hate with love.
Right.
And it's like we've arrived at that point, folks. He was what, 1963 or in the 60s? He was talking about you can't beat hate with hate. It's got to be love. So it's like some things never change, and that's in line with truth. Truth doesn't change.
Right.
So it's, again, I get excited because on so many fronts, spiritually, culturally, uh, economically, everything is moving all at once. So it's a bit frightening, but it's like, the idea is it's going to be okay. Like the you have to have your faith in a higher power that, what seems to be out of control is in control.
Right.
Your small human mind can't wrap it around what's going on. And in some cases, being naive is bliss. What you don't know will not hurt you. And if what you don't know is not good for you, then even better that you don't know it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of naivete. I just 100%. People have said that about me throughout my life. Like, oh my God, Jessica, you'll believe everything. You're so naive. But here, the truth of it is I think it's really, especially where health things are concerned, it saved me more often than not because I know what this mind does. I know what happens when the doctor walks in the room and says, you have XYZ. Down the rabbit hole I go, like Alice, and it's not leading to a wonderland. I promise you, it's not good. And so I think it's been good for me at times to just not know and sort of be in that naive place. Before we run out of time tonight, I want to get into the work that you're doing today. You mentioned doing apps. You've mentioned your podcast. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing, and then I'll ask you the My Way questions.
Right now, what we're doing is we're promoting the podcast, and we're using all the new modern technologies, just starting with YouTube Shorts. Yeah. We have a mobile app. We're on the App Store and Google Play. And what I'm excited about is taking some of that influence from my dad and being a teacher and a coach. And I'm developing a school to help people start businesses online and helping them set that up through doing a virtual real estate, which is a mobile app.
You're not leaving people at the golf course, are you?
No.
Not, okay. I just had to make sure.
No, they'll be in the comfort of their own home with their phone in front of them.
I love that. I mean, look, everybody loves an app. I've got, I don't know how many apps on my phone. I don't want to talk about it.
What it is there is a misunderstanding with them. People think if you're using it for business, it's like a website. It's completely not. It's a tool. A website's like a billboard. This is a full-blown tool, truck, Swiss Army knife, whatever you want to call it. But the idea of how to use it and implement it. So that's really where my focus is going to be, on educating people and taking what their problem is and showing them how an app can resolve that. Because it's like, there's a lot of statistics when you look at places like Dick's or a place like Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts. And it's like, why did they have an app? Well, because it's profitable for them to have an app.
Right.
And it's the app is the epitome show of convenience. It's like you're providing the ultimate service by allowing them to go into your app. But what happens is inside that app is everything you have to offer. I reference it as it's like people's Disneyland. Yeah. Because you have their all-inclusive attention. You don't want to bump them out of the app and let them go back on the internet. Once they're in your app, you got things for them to see, things for them to participate in, a VIP loyalty membership. So this whole world inside the app, based on what your offer is, goes on. So like in my case, my app, I'd be a school. I like being hearing the kids, I was the principal's son, so they're like, what are we going in this class for? We're not going to use this stuff for the rest of our life. This is a waste of time. I'm skipping class. I'm not going in there. So it's like, again, taking that from your youth, it's like, well, why don't we teach people about money? Why don't we teach people about how to start a business? Why don't we teach people some stuff about crypto? Why don't we teach people how to buy a house? These are things that they're ultimately going to do. And you're watching the educational system, just like how Uber tested the transportation and then Amazon changed retail. You go in here, the educational system's about to flip. The
Right.
colleges, the argument, the tipping point is it's not worth the investment, or the college will call it an investment as much as you're giving them, but you're coming out with an enormous amount of debt and you don't even have a trade. You just got a
Right.
degree. So it's like, because times have changed to such a degree, depending on what it is you want to pursue, that is or isn't good. But bringing it back to my idea of an app on the school, it's like, I'll probably bring in other people to teach the courses that are experts in those categories. But to start, the initial part here is my school. I'm going to teach you how to go online, how to find your audience, how to cultivate your offer and your product around that, and start a business on the internet. And we'll do it using an app of your business.
Love it. I love it. And those are definitely some good things for us to think about. I think many of us think about apps in a different way. All of you Candy Crush players out there might be thinking about things like that. So I love that. How do you feel like, whether you were talking about the app business or your podcast, even, how do you feel like you're doing things your way? Because that's what this show's about, my way. How do you, and how have you ever had those people, those well-meaning folks in the back of the class that are like, Vince, you can't do that? And how do you handle that?
I think what I prefer to do is, you want to do it with them. So being in the lead, you want to provide something that's going to attract them and make them want to do it. But it's kind of like, until the student is ready, the teacher doesn't appear. And so for me, what I want to do is I want to create an audience that I'm serving, and I'm speaking their language. So it's like the combination of moving forward in the modern era is bringing like that customer support in the front of the conversation instead of in the back of it. And it's like, so you're bringing people in through self-discovery, personal expression, creativity, and you're allowing them to have a bigger expression of themselves. But on the other side of that, you're showing them how to monetize that.
Right.
And then that gets them really excited because they can see how they fit into that. And that gets, now that, like you said, you wake up and you get that fire, you're lit. It's something that begins to pull you instead of something you got to push yourself through or towards. I think it's when you find your gift. That's when that click part happens. Because I think people make too much of that. Mine was always when I always got accused of talking too much. And I told you in the beginning, my problem was I was just easily excited. So as it turns out, when she said to do the podcast, it was just like something I was doing. I wasn't even thinking. And so, you're a dozen episodes in and I'm like, wow, I got like, $1,500 debt here, and I got to pay, and I got to publish this stuff. And, I'm kind of having fun, but it's like, I don't want to tell people I'm doing something, not do it. So, now you're 15 episodes in, it's like, wow, looks like I'm committed. And it's like, well, okay, this is really getting fun, because the response, when you're taking people's stories and you're giving them a platform to express themselves and feel good about what they've accomplished, it really, really, it inspires the best feelings of all. And so I feel incredibly blessed to be the person to provide that message, or to be in the middle of that, because you're watching everybody be everybody else's hero, and we all have a story. So, it was one of those things that I just, through trust and letting go, and the Spirit just guided me right into this. I didn't even realize I was doing that again either. I got to start paying attention.
Well, I mean, I've been trying to pay attention, but I got this cool app on my phone now. And it has got, I've never seen an app that has the scroll at the bottom.
Really?
I've never seen it. None of my apps. Look at y'all. It's like just how it's scrolling on my screen over here. It's scrolling on the app too. Check that out. This is good stuff. And we want everybody to make sure they visit leaveyourmarkvc.com because they can check out all of your show episodes and everything else there. But what else can they find on that website, Vince?
We're just bringing in some sponsors and some affiliates to that stuff. There's a little bio about myself. And you can also, we got our YouTube channels on there. So you can help us out by just going on there and subscribing and help us develop our audience. But what I'm incorporating now is giveaways. So I always liked The Price is Right when I was young. So I'm like, this is sort of like a radio station, and radio stations is to give money away. So I'm like, I think we need to start doing a giveaway.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do gift cards, like $100, $50, $25. And the whole point behind that is if you go on and put the app on your phone and leave a comment, you qualify to win.
Awesome. I said enter to win a trip to Cancun. Oh, you got all kinds. Listen, I need a vacation, Vince.
Well, incentive marketing, you know how it goes.
I love it. I love it. Well, we want everybody to visit. Also, it was super easy to find. I just went in my app store and I typed in "Leave Your Mark." That easy, and it popped right up, and it was easy peasy. There was a nice photo going into it of somebody wearing a lovely "Leave Your Mark" hoodie. Was that you, or did you hire a model?
Actually, one of my favorite movies was Rocky. So when I saw the guy with the hood on there, I'm like, drop a logo on the back of his sweatshirt and we'll use that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how there's little peaks of your own personality, your own spike comes in on those things. But at the end of the day, that's what makes what you're doing unique.
That's it. That's it. Well, one of the questions that I love to ask people ending the show is we have a lot of people that watch the show who are like, look, I want to be myself. I want to do things my way, but it's hard. People have expectations for me. They're chattering. I can't do it like that. I don't know how to quiet that down. I don't know how to do things my way. What would you say to them?
It makes me think of a story that I heard from a Chinaman when he was asking people the right to passage was to climb this highest mountain in China. It was some 15,000 feet, and it was coming to his time in his life where he'd had to climb the mountain himself. And everybody that would have gone to the top of the mountain had come down. He was asking them, how did you go? How did you do it? And 50 times he would ask people, and 50 times they would give him a different answer. And it's not until he went and he scaled to the top of the mountain on his own that he realized his answer was different than theirs as well. Yeah. So the reality is we all do it our own way. We can find helpers out there and people who give us pieces of the puzzle and components, but ultimately our breakthrough, is when we find ourselves and we live who our true person is and allow the world to embrace what it is we have to offer. We all have a gift, and you find what that is, and that's what comes easiest to you, and just marinate in it. And just be happy that gift was given to you by God, and ask God to give you the direction, because you're intuitive and your gut feeling, those things are real. And you pay attention to that voice and develop that relationship, and you will have no idea what's going to happen to you.
Love it. I love it. So good. This entire episode has been a gold mine of fantastic stories and just a really good time, Vince. I appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah, I was excited to be here, Jessica, because when we had talked, you're so busy, and I got, pushed in the back of the line.
Hey, you're not December.
20 days from now, Vince, just sit tight. Like I told you, I'm easily excited. You can't make a person wait that long. So,
I'm sorry. Hey, just be grateful you're not the October, November, December episodes, right?
Oh man, that kid, it got rough. I mean, I got in here. I slid in just at the beginning of summer.
You did. You did.
There you go.
I appreciate you being here tonight. You guys, make sure you go visit leaveyourmarkvc.com. Make sure you check out the videos while you're there. Go subscribe to their YouTube channel. We know here how YouTube is a fun time. Let me tell you, YouTube is a fun time. But we appreciate you guys, and we hope you'll go follow them. Thank you again, Vince, for being here and for showing us how you're doing things your way. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, Jessica.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, you guys.
I join you in the morning too. I need to get on there.
I know. Well, we're
Come back
finishing
and pay you another visit.
Yes, we're finishing up some series this week, and then next week we'll be having everybody pop back on, and we'll have a good time with that.
All right. You hit me a text.
I will.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and we'll be back in 2 Tuesdays. This is actually going to be my last interview before we move. And the interesting thing about next episode is that it is Tish Robbie, who's a children's book author, and she lives in the town that we're moving to. So we're really excited. That'll be the last interview here in Alabama, but with someone where I'm moving to. Very strange, but serendipitous, and I'm excited. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Don't forget to do things your way. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.